everybody, welcome back. This is Cruise Travel Retail Group, and today I've got a very special guest, a fantastic coach and friend. Tamsin Acheson is here with us, and Tamsin's helped me a lot in my business in the past, and she is I wrote it down, business strategist and leadership coach, not just a coach. But Tamsin, will you just explain what that really is?
Yeah, I mean, it really is. I focus on the strategic side of business. So really helping people to, create the big picture vision of where they're trying to go, mainly from a life perspective to start off with, and then how to align their business to deliver on that vision. So it's very strategic in its approach, sort of creating all of the growth phases so that you can actualize or really live the life that you want to live, and your business pays for it, essentially from a strategic perspective. And then in order to run a business like that, you need the leadership skills. So I approach leadership from the perspective of you needing to become the sort of person that can run that sort of business. And I firmly believe that leadership starts with your own self-development to start off with. Because the development of yourself when you're leading others, or before you go into leading others, is fundamental. You need to know your sort of your own foibles before you start projecting them at other people.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. And we've all dealt with leaders that you can just tell they've got outstanding issues that they need to deal with themselves. Because I mean, I have a great deal of respect for some leaders in the world, and some not so much.
Yeah, it's definitely, I think leadership is more an activity. It's more a verb than a noun, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I know that you are incredibly busy. You are a one-to-one a strategist and leadership coach, but you also run groups. So I'm really conscious of your time, and I'm so grateful that you've took time out in December to do this interview, because I know it will help so many people in this group, because largely in this group are retailers and brands and people that have work in the cruise ship industry that has paused since March, and it looks like it's not going to really come back. As the same with lots of businesses, it's not really going to start to come back until March, April next year. So I actually wrote down a question that I really wanted to ask you. So 2020 has given us space to evaluate our businesses and lives. And I know you have always been the type of coach that encourages growth without sacrificing integrity. And that's one of the reasons why I love you so much. And you were so good for me. Many people in this group that I know are workaholics. What can we do differently in 2021 as we start to go back to some sort of new normal?
Well, I think that for most of us, 2020 has all been about alignment anyway. It's brought into a very sharp focus the things that we do and the things that we don't want in our lives. Some of the lessons that we've had to learn have been unforgiving in their sharpness. And any cracks, I think, that exist have actually been turned into chasms in our personal lives, in our businesses, at a local community level. Supermarkets not being able to service from a delivery perspective their local community, so that and even at a sort of government and national level. So any sort of broken structures have really been exposed this year. And we have started to see things in a slightly different way. And I think in our own lives, we've really needed the courage to look at the things that are not working for us anymore. And that might be in our relationships. I know a lot of relationships have not lasted this pandemic, in the way that we're living, in our values and our priorities, and also obviously from a health perspective. I think all of that, everything has been put under a microscope this year, and we're all coming out of it with a different idea of what is important to us, and I think a greater value of simplicity. we've kind of recognized that there is a real need for better balance, and that's not just at an individual level, but also at a global level. But I think the biggest recognition has been that that change can start at an individual level. So we've all started to look at our lives in, you know, almost, why are we living the way that we're living, and how do we actually want to live? And that's sort of the evaluation I think that's taken place this year. In fact, the whole year in my community, we've had this mantra that it's not difficult, it's just different. And so whenever something's come up, this is not difficult, it's just different. And obviously I'm not one to tell people what they can do differently, but I really think that what I would encourage is maybe looking at 2021 through a completely different lens. So not seeking out a new normal, because I think when we reflect on what normal used to be, it wasn't particularly great for anyone. There was a lot of disconnection, there was a lot of overwhelm, there was a lot of anxiety and a fear for the future. People were working really, really hard because it had become like a sign of status or significance. You know, we got caught up in this sort of busy culture. There's a lot of unconscious consumerism. And there was generally just sort of a need for more of everything. We'd become a society that just needed more, and we're not quite sure why. So maybe instead of, as your question said, seeking out a new normal, it's about seeking better alignment, being more conscious about how you're kind of spending your precious time in your precious life. So I think it's a great time for reflection, very much focusing on everything that, you know, the things that you don't want to be, the things that you don't want to have, the things that you don't want to do need to stay in 2020. And now's a great time to really kind of set the tone for 2021 and kind of focus on the things that you do want and the person that you're aspiring to be and how you do want to spend your time, and maybe resetting those values and those priorities and starting to align behaviors to the things that are really important to you, and seeing this as a chance to emerge and live in a way that you're choosing instead of in a way that you've been conditioned to accept as normal. So really giving yourself permission to live your life in a way that evokes more feelings of fulfillment and contentment, and probably less feelings of frustration or lack. So deciding what you want, resetting your compass, and going out there and making it happen for yourself. That's kind of my perspective on that.
That was beautifully said. And everything that you said, I was nodding profusely. I was like doing this because I was like, tick, yep, that's me, tick, yes, because this isn't about me. Obviously, this is about everyone in the group, but we've got
it can so totally be about you too.
It's always about me. But I was like going, yep, tick, condition, tick, work it. And it was like a treadmill. Like every Monday I would say to my husband, right, back on the treadmill.
Yeah.
But it doesn't feel like that anymore.
And it had become habitual. It becomes a habit. And until we break habits, we can't see how damaging they are.
Yeah, exactly. And it was almost at breaking point, I know, for me and some of my friends, but I will say the proof is, I mean, there's proof of everything that you're saying. So many people I know have moved back to home counties. People have moved back home, so to speak. People have downsized and been thrilled about it. Whereas I think in culture that can be, ooh, they've downsized.
Yeah.
No, that's such a brilliant thing. You're honoring yourself.
Yeah, it's that move back to simplicity. What's really important, what really matters to me. You know, what sort of life do I want to live? Who do I want to be? Do I want to be the person that chases the shiny car, or do I want to be the person that is surrounded by a loving nuclear family that focuses on relationships? You know, I think there's been a real shift and we've been forced to ask that question: who do we want to be?
I agree. I feel like you're coaching me all over again. This is such a
it never stops, does it?
No, it never stops. No, can we do this every week? So in this group, we have lots of retailers and brands that have pivoted their business at a frantic rate. You know, even in the beginning, it was a massive pivot. And the pivot that I saw mostly was, because it's retail, it's bricks and mortar, was to go online. And I think that's starting to slow down a little bit as people realize, okay, this is a long-term strategy. But how does someone who's, you know, lost their customer base from something that they've known for generations in some cases, rebase, you know, base, sorry, I can't read my own writing, who's lost their customer base, how do they reevaluate, retrain, reinvest, and what are the timelines that people can look to become profitable again?
So I think that, you know, picking up on what you just said, the thing that needs to be avoided is the knee-jerk reaction.
Yeah.
And I think this is why, one of the reasons why with my ongoing clients, supporting them this year, we literally focused on different, not difficult, because that approach in itself almost holds the answer to this question. If you approach something because it's and see it as difficult, if you focus on, your attitude focuses on the lack, or you're focusing on what you don't have, or you're focusing on what you've lost, then all you're doing is adding to the current feelings of restriction and limitation. And we've all felt the frustration and the anger that starts to boil up, and the resentment and the hopelessness and the powerlessness that is generated by feelings of restriction and limitation this year. So if you are approaching it by looking at, I've lost this customer base, I've lost everything that I've created, you're going to actually add to feelings that you've already got about restriction and limitation. Whereas if you focus on the fact that this is just different, it's not difficult, it's just different, what it does is it opens up an energy of curiosity. So how is this different? It makes you ask different questions, and you start to see like the possibility and the opportunity in it, and you can move forward innovatively. Let's face it, this is the way that the world was going anyway. It's only a matter of time before people needed to be moving their businesses online. Everything in 2020 has merely amplified and accelerated what was happening anyway, and it's not allowed us to plan for it. And in some ways that's a gift, because it's forced our hand, it's forced us to do things without over planning. So we're going into this time anyway of intellectual innovation where everything is changing, and I think now's a great time for us as individuals to change too. And for us, no one has any expectations of anybody at the moment. You could close your business, people wouldn't be surprised. You could become a millionaire, people wouldn't be surprised. Nothing is going to surprise anybody at the moment, which for me just gives this massive level playing field. And if we're going through a transition energy globally anyway, why not get on the back of that wave and use it as a way to transform? So it's about kind of recognizing and celebrating the opportunity to do it your way this time.
Yeah.
It's about, instead of, I think your question said, it's about focusing on what you still have, and it's about focusing on what you already know, because we spend far too much time focusing on what we don't know and what we still need to learn, instead of actually taking action on the things that we do know already. And this is it's just another form of procrastination. This compulsion with learning instead of recognizing the knowledge that we already have and acting on that knowledge is another way that we keep ourselves small and we keep ourselves safe. Because if we can constantly be learning and telling ourselves that we don't know what we need to know in order to take successful action, then we never do anything, or we never move, we never expose ourselves to the risk of failure. I think that instead of focusing on things that were in the past, it's about reevaluating what you have, and it's about reevaluating what you know already. And it's about taking action on those two things so that the way forward can reveal itself to you. I think a lot of people stand still in stuckness, asking themselves the question how. But the question how can never be answered from a place of inertia. It's only when we start to move that answers reveal themselves to us along the way. We've got to actually move from the starting point. So it's about really focusing on what you already have in abundance from a knowledge perspective and from a resource perspective, and starting to take those first steps forward, starting to look curiously at the possibilities and opportunities that are in front of you. And then once you have started moving, that is when you can look at retraining, and that is when you can look at reinvestment, because you will have actually identified a gap in your knowledge and not just be learning on a wing and a prayer, or investing, throwing money at something because you hope that it'll magically resolve itself if you can throw your last 10 quid at it. So it's about stopping those sorts of knee jerks of throwing money and time at things before you've identified what the gap is. I pretty much guarantee that most people already know everything that they need to know in order to be successful. It's about coming back to yourself and recognizing what you have instead of what you don't have, or looking for the things that you don't have. And then I think you asked me about the timeline to profitability. Oh, nice. Yes. Sorry, crystal ball. Where's that?
Crystal ball time.
So it's like, how long's a piece of string?
Yeah.
It's such an individual thing. If you strike on the right thing in front of the right people at the right price point at exactly the right time, then your recovery could be incredibly swift. But for most of us, I think that this is going to be a rebuild. And I think it's not actually about speed. It's about doing it properly. It's about creating sustainable success that serves many. And productivity is a product. That was what was about to come out of my mouth. It's true. Productivity is a product of having a really clear and compelling purpose, of aligning your priorities to your purpose, and of taking really productive, intentional and focused steps towards that vision, or making that vision a reality, or towards your goals. And so the speed to profitability, in essence, really depends on your stride length, how big your steps are, and how frequently you take them.
Right. Yeah. Good answer. A good politician.
You avoided that question completely.
Oh yeah, it's good. And I think actually it's for a lot of us, it's our addiction to speed as well. Like we want it all now, but then, and this is forcing us just to slow down and take it one step at a time. And it's excruciating for me.
But there's very much that idea of building from a firm foundation. And I think one of the things that we need to get away from is instant gratification and the one-click culture that we've created.
This is forcing that, isn't it?
And it's seeing your business as permanent, because when you take a temporary approach to business, then you don't see failure as a learning process. It becomes really important that you succeed first time. But when you take a more permanent approach to business, then everything you try is merely part of the process of learning. And it becomes less, failure it doesn't exist, essentially. You move beyond this idea of failure. You can't fail, because it's all part of a learning process, because you're creating something that is going to permanently exist in your life, and it's going to permanently pay for the life that you're trying to create for yourself. So it becomes more about the process of your life as opposed to trying to get to some sort of destination where you can then ultimately apparently hang everything up and retire.
Right.
And we don't need to look at too many of the older generation to realize that never happens anyway.
Right. Yeah. Oh, I love it. Well, I'm going to change my last question if that's all right,
Of course.
because you've given us so much, and this is actually an interview I will watch over and over again, because you've just given us so many gems. But I'm going to change my last question slightly too. What would you say are 3 things that people should look at doing in their businesses now as we start planning for 2021? What are 3 things that you feel should be on our lists?
Catch me on the hoof now. What 3 things need to be on our list for 2021? Obviously, I'm hugely triggered by the should word. You should not do anything. Be yourself.
I forgot you ate that word.
Yeah, my allergic reaction to the word should. Slightly send me off in a complete tangent.
Was it you that said quit shoulding all over yourself?
I have no idea. It sounds like exactly the sort of thing that would come out of my mouth.
Yeah, quit shoulding all over yourself.
So 3 things that you can do in your business now.
Yeah. I'm ready.
So I would go back to basics.
Okay.
And that is what I am encouraging everybody that comes across my path to do. I think so much has changed in such a short period of time that we've got whiplash at the moment. And I don't think that there is any point in really doing too much in the rest of this year. I think this year has people are exhausted.
I know.
And actually, the best thing that most people can do in their business for the rest of this year is give themselves the gift of reflection time and really make sure that the vision that they have created, and actually I'm still terrified by how many people don't have a vision, whereas your vision is your North Star. If you don't have one, you really don't know where you're going. So if you don't have a vision, I think spending the rest of the year focusing on what the life you actually want to create for yourself. So this is not a read through. This is the one chance you get at it. It's really about letting go of the need for approval from other people, so that we release all of the external power that is exerted over us from the external world. And really come back to creating a success vision for yourself that is not defined by whether you're married or not, what sort of house you live in, whether or not you've managed to procreate, what schools your children go to. It's finding that vision that is really aligned to you as an authentic individual. Who do you want to be without the conditioning that you have grown up with, without the roles that you have been assigned and have assigned yourself? So it's really that sort of vision is a big thing. And once you have that vision for your life, the next step is to ask yourself the question, how is my business going to pay for it? Because that is essentially what your business is there to do. It's not the other way around. And a lot of people start their businesses because they need an identity, but actually your identity needs to come first. Who you are and what you want in life has got to be first and foremost at the center of your vision. And then your business's purpose is to fuel that vision. And only when you have that vision and you kind of know how much that life that you want to live is going to cost, can you build the business that's going to pay for it. So it's vision first and then plan.
Wow.
And when you plan, I would plan big picture. And I never put a timeline on things. I don't do 10-year and 5-year plans because I think it's Parkinson's law. You will fill the time that you have available to you.
Yes.
So if you say it's a 5-year plan, it's going to take you 5 years. If you say it's a 10-year plan, it's going to take you 10 years. So I never put a time on things.
Right.
I put a very clear flag on the horizon, and I think when you can see it every day, your vision, you take bigger steps towards it if you don't know how far away it is. So then it's really aligning that plan to that vision. And then the third thing, I think, is to look at whether your day-to-day behaviors are supporting what you say you want to achieve and who you say you want to be.
Right. I'm writing this down.
Well, I'm hoping you've recorded it. Otherwise, we're going through the whole thing again.
I'm recording it. Yeah. I'm serious. I want to watch this every morning.
So yeah, it's about thinking about whether the things you do are in alignment with the things that you say.
Nope.
Yeah, there's no point in me saying that I want to lose weight and then sitting on the couch with a glass of wine and a slice of chocolate cake. It's about really thinking about whether the things you do are in alignment with where you say you want to go.
Mm. By the way, I love sitting on the settee with a glass of wine.
I was like, I should do that tonight. Can wait till the new year.
Yeah, it's too late. Yeah. 2021.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is amazing. So, gosh, this is amazing. I know that we're out of time because you have to go, but I just want to say a massive thank you. And will you please come back and give us some more strategy and coaching?
Of course.
This has been amazing. Amazing.
Good.
Perfect timing as well. Thank you so much, Tamsin. And I'll put all your contact details. If you're watching this and you want, like, do you still offer complimentary?
Yep, 30-minute free consultations. I think that there's obviously now starting in January. And then I've got a community that price point starts at sort of £25. And I run a business community for people who are, either in startup grow phase or the scale phase of their business. And it's just a safe space to hang out and work together towards becoming more successful.
Yeah. It's your Facebook group, isn't it?
I've actually moved off Facebook. I'm very excited. It's my big move for this year is to step away from Facebook, and it's now on my website platform.
Okay, and what's your website?
It is tamsinacheson.com.
Okay, cool. Well, I'll put that all in the notes. So head over to Tamsin's website to see all about her community, her courses, and of course, the one-on-one complimentary. I highly recommend you do it. She whipped me into shape when I needed it. In fact, I'm thinking, need to contact Tamsin complimentary. Thank you, Tamsin. I really appreciate your time, and hopefully we'll have you back in the new year.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for having me.
Welcome. Thanks. Bye.